I'm back. I know it's been pretty much the definition of forever. I just needed a bit of a hiatus. I've been doing this for about 4 years now, and I needed somewhat of a break that went on a little longer than I meant it to. But now that I'm back, we'll make up for lost time in the coming months and pack in all the amazing books I've been reading since we last talked. If this is your first time watching, this is the Gwendolyn reading method, where we talk about every single one of the 200 books I read each year, and since I just took a 9-month hiatus, we have a bunch of those books to catch up on. So let's start with the young adult genre and the books I've been reading in said genre since we last talked. Okay, so if you've watched my booktube videos from late last year, you know that I was in love with Illuminae, which was the first book in the new YA sci-fi series by Amie Kaufman and Kristof. This is told in a very unique format, all told as if it's a report of a disaster. So it's all personal accounts, communications via electronic means, security recordings. It sounds like it could be really gimmicky, but it actually really works. I will tell you this would be a lot easier to read in physical book form. I read it in ebook form and I managed, but some parts were hard because the visual layout is so key to this book. So I would probably recommend you read it in physical form. We open on two teens doing something very normal for teens. They are breaking up. It's the end of the world, of course. Oh, but wait a second, what's happening? Oh, snap, their entire planet is invaded. And then it really is the end of the world. Two teens stuck in a war between two rival mega corporations. A fleet manages to escape the planet with our two teens on board, but with an enemy warship close behind. It's a chase movie in space, and it is brilliant. And wait till you get to the character of Aiden. He's my favorite. This is the best YA book I have read in years, I tell you. So Illuminae, read it, it's great. But what we're supposed to be talking about is book 2, Gemina, which I just read. And I frankly wasn't expecting much, even though I adored the first book with a burning passion. But I usually find with YA books that I might fall in love with the first book, but then find the next book boring as heck. So I usually don't throw my full weight of adoration behind a YA series until I've read several books that do not disappoint. And yeah, this book did not disappoint. In this one, we move to the viewpoint of a different set of characters who reside on Jump Station Heimdall and are about to run smack dab into the conflict between the Hypatia and Vitek that started in book 1. We have a Hannah, pampered but badass daughter of the station captain, and Nick, member of a low-life crime family who is hopelessly in love with Hannah. But she's not giving him the time of day. But when the station is invaded, they, of course, have no choice but to work together against the elite Vitek strike team. I'm not sure at what point in the book I tumbled head over heels in love with the series, but now I no longer have to hedge it by saying, well, I really liked book 1 at least. I am now an official fan of the entire series and cannot wait to read book 3. This series is really killer. So again, series is Illuminae and it has 2 books so far, Illuminae and Gemina. I highly recommend you read both. Alright, I was a big fan of the first book in the Fire and Thorns series by Carson, which was called The Girl of Fire and Thorns, and was about Lisa, second-born princess, not the pretty one, and the bearer of the Godstone, who's always been told she is destined to do great things in service to God. Then she finds herself married off to a king she's never met, and on a journey where she has to really quickly get it together. This book was very gritty and realistic for being set in a fantasy world, and is truly more of a coming-of-age tale than most fantasy YA books. She's struggling with a lot of the things a teenager struggles with, but in a situation where she doesn't really have the luxury to sulk in a corner. It was kind of a brilliant touch, and oh my god, cling tight to all you hold dear, because Carson takes no prisoners. She's kind of like the George R.R. Martin of YA. She breaks all the cardinal rules of YA with this one, and yeah, that probably would have pissed me off at 16, but now I really kind of gleefully enjoyed it. Okay, but that was a while ago. What I read now was book 2, The Crown of Embers. In this one, Elisa must figure out how to govern and also fight off threats, internal and external, so she can stay in power. There's a trail of clues she must follow which will lead her on a long journey away from her kingdom. Through it all, loyal Hector stays by her side. I will say the part I liked was that there's a slow burn love story in this one, and it is pretty nice. But the rest of it, brutal honesty here, most of the time this book dragged. The ending was back to the brilliance of book 1, but the rest felt very much like a middle book where she was just killing time to get to the grand finale. Hopefully book 3, The Bitter Kingdom, is better. Moving on to Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. So I've read the first 2 books of the Grisha series, which is the companion series to the series, which is the Six of Crows duology. I loved Shadow and Bone, which is the first of the Grisha books, but Siege of Storm kind of petered out for me, so I just never picked up Ruin and Rising. I certainly would not have picked up Six of Crows except for the fact that my book club voted it as our book club pick. And I am so glad they did. But first, the synopsis. Kaz Brecker, teenage criminal prodigy, is about to become very, very rich. All he has to do is pull off a pretty much impossible heist. He's got to break into the Ice Court, this unbreakable military stronghold, free a hostage, and try to keep himself and his crew of 6 alive. Guys, this thing is like the YA fantasy version of Ocean's 11. The pacing is incredible, the heists are incredible, pretty much everything is incredible. I highly recommend this book. The Grisha series was good, but this series is brilliant. And even better, it's not an incredibly long series, it's only a duology. Thank God. I highly dislike stretched out series that never end. This was just about perfect. Second book is Crooked Kingdom, in which we must rescue Inej, cause Kaz might maybe care for her just a little bit. But he won't admit it, of course. But that's not the only thing going on in the story. We have Grisha being hunted down and also in need of being saved. At the same time, we have the dregs going after the bad guy's livelihood, and Wylan is about to meet someone he hasn't seen in a very long time. But everything does not go entirely smoothly. At first, I wasn't so sure this was as good as the first book, and it is certainly slower, but in the end, the masterful writing and the deepness of the plot pushes it well over the edge of super effing good book. Anyways, read the whole duology, Six of Crows, duology, Leigh Bardugo, highly recommend. Oh dear God, so my book club had a brain spasm and did the most hipster thing possible, God help us. We hate-read Tyra Banks' young adult book, Modelland. I don't even know how to begin to describe this book. It wins the prize as the trippiest, weirdest, most uncomfortable book I have ever read. I went into it thinking it would be a self-serious model version of Vampire Academy. But no, this thing is very self-aware of how ridiculous it is, which makes it even more trippy and nightmarish than I could have thought possible. The parts I did enjoy were the hilariously over-the-top writing with quotes like, "You begin your morning staring at the fog, looking for the fateful evening when it will turn a golden yellow, and then, finally, like a push-up brassiere, lift." I also really enjoyed the oh-so-pretentious author acknowledgements, where Tyra Banks starts off listing all the exotic places where she got to write the book. It wasn't even a humble brag, it was a brag. Then she goes on to thank Stephen King because she totally read on writing like more than once. And she knows she broke his rule of not using too many adjectives, but she's sure he'll forgive her when he reads her book because he'll agree this book really, really needed them. I'm pretty sure he won't read it or forgive her. The parts I did not enjoy. Everything else, especially the graphic descriptions of snot and blood, but not the fun violence type of blood, but just gross, icky, playing with blood coming out of body parts stuff. I'm really traumatized by this book. I actually rated it 1 star, which I usually reserve for books I find morally evil, but this book was so soul-disturbing it just needed a 1-star rating. I really feel at this moment that I'm giving the warning from the Ring movies. Don't read this book, it will destroy you. Though I gotta say, man, this was so trippy, you may have to read it just once to even believe this book is real. I finally read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, by Judy Blume. I know 20 years too late, but it's one of those culturally influential books you have to read sometime, even if you're really not the target audience anymore. In it, Margaret, who is almost 12, moves to a new place, goes through puberty, and struggles with understanding religion. I would not have liked this book as a kid. I wasn't much into realistic fiction, I just wanted to read fantasy. If I had wanted to understand what it was like to be a girl going through puberty, I would have just stayed in my own life. That said, as an adult, I can appreciate this book for the classic it is. I am glad I read it. So now that I've read that one, what other Judy Blume books should I be adding to my reading rotation besides this one? Alright, right, The Duff, or Designated Ugly Fat Friend by Kody Keplinger. In this one, our heroine is 17-year-old Bianca Pike. She is cynical but loyal, and she knows she's not quite as pretty as her friends. She's also wary of Popular, but she thinks is pretty much totally man-slutty Wesley Rush. He's the one who nicknames her Duff, which stands for a Designated Ugly Fat Friend, who is there to make the hot friends look better. With her home life in a tailspin, Bianca is desperate for a distraction, and she ends up kissing Wesley and getting into this whole enemies with benefits relationship with him that she is desperate to keep hidden. But then it turns out that Wesley is kind of good at listening, and his life is kind of pretty screwed up too. And then Bianca's falling for the last person she'd ever want to, or really should fall for. Okay, so I'd watched the movie a while ago, and while I don't have the clearest recollection of it, holy shit, is it just me, or is this book much darker than the movie? And isn't the plot kind of different too? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember the movie being cute and bubbly, and this goes places that are definitely in the opposite direction of bubbly. And that's not a criticism, I thought this was quite a good book. I also enjoyed the movie, but I prefer to think of them as two very separate things so I can maintain my love for both. If you have read the book and watched the movie, let's discuss if my memory is just whack or if they do seem significantly different. All in all, I've been pretty happy with my YA selections lately. Tell me where I'm missing out and really should be reading in the YA genre these days, because I have been out of the booktube loop, guys, and I don't know what the latest and the greatest is. Also, let me know what you thought of any of the books we just discussed. If you want a full list of the books, I've included a link in the description below. I am just so excited to be back, guys, and please talk with me about books.